Children, we talked about energy balance and we talked about winds and currents and how water is moving up and down, how air is moving up and down, how we are producing evaporation, precipitation, etc. But we have to eventually get to climate change. And probably many of you know by now that climate change has a lot to do with the greenhouse gases that we discussed before. Greenhouse gases have been a critical part of providing us an environment on Earth that is probably conducive to life, because still we find life on other planets or moons of other planets in our own solar system. We don't know exactly what combination may have worked, but in general it's fair to assume that greenhouse gases gave us water in all its forms, and that may have been critical. But carbon is one of the elements of life. We always talk about carbon, phosphorus, nitrogen, oxygen, hydrogen, sulfur, and so on as critical elements of life. If carbon is life, and carbon has always been part of the climate system and the co-evolution of life and climate on Earth, and why is suddenly carbon a problem? Well, it is precisely because carbon is so important, and photosynthesis on Earth is taking up CO2 and sun's energy and producing these hydrocarbons, or organic matter, that we consume and everybody consumes. Even a tree, does photosynthesis, forms hydrocarbons, and uses some of it to produce its own body mass, to sustain itself, to produce seeds, flowers, etc. So everybody is consuming energy and producing pollution in terms of CO2. We have become too good at it in terms of digging up all the hydrocarbons that were formed in Earth's history since the plants evolved and produced large amounts of hydrocarbons, and we've been burning them, so they were hidden from the atmosphere. We've been putting it into the atmosphere and thickening this blanket of greenhouse gases, especially with CO2 and others as well. And this is what brings us to the carbon cycle. So now, after worrying about everything, now we have to worry about the carbon cycle. There are elemental cycles we mentioned, but we'll just look at carbon cycle as an example, and then you can do homework on nitrogen cycle, phosphorus cycle, and so on. Okay, so we'll learn about where all carbon goes in this podcast and in the coming podcast. Please look at them and let me know if you have questions.